Local News Live, a production of AOC Community Media. The music you're hearing in the background is Kindergarten by Gergo Nark. That's from Dig CC Mixter, a community of musicians who make Creative Commons attribution licensed music that you can use in your production if you're an AOC producer. That might be super handy information to you. And it has been a super handy service that we have used to provide a little bit of music in our stream. As I was saying, this is Local News Live, where we read the news as reported by The Advocate. You can find The Advocate at theadvocate.com, and we are thankful to them for continuing to produce journalism every day in spite of the big challenges that all local news organizations across the country are facing right now. You can head over to theadvocate.com again to support them in their efforts in journalism by subscribing to their news coverage, and then you can have it in your inbox, so to speak, every day. All right, I am Matt Roberts. I'll be your newsreader today. Bruce Cohen has the day off, but he'll be back tomorrow. And with that said, it is Thursday, June 11th, 2020, and our first story is Black Louisiana Lawmaker Proposes Police Study, White Colleague Calls Measure Racist, by Sam Carlin, a staff writer with The Advocate. A proposal to study police reform in the wake of George Floyd's killing touched off an emotional and at times divisive debate over race and policing at the state capitol on Wednesday, with several black lawmakers making impassioned pleas for changes to law enforcement practices, and some white lawmakers chafing at measures reference of Floyd and race. Sorry about that, my news jumped there, everybody. Be right back. All right. Baton Rouge Democratic Republican Ted James, who is black, put forth the resolution to create a study group to review law enforcement and issue a report to the State House ahead of the 2021 regular session, the next time lawmakers are scheduled to be able to take up such changes. But several Republican lawmakers took issue with the language at the beginning of the resolution, which doesn't carry legal weight, that pointed out Floyd died after a white police officer knelt on his neck for almost 9 minutes. The language also said that the deaths of black men at the hands of white police officers in recent years raised a number of questions about the treatment of racial minorities within the criminal justice system. Representative Mike Johnson, Republican Pineville, who is white, said he had problems with the tone of the resolution and added that the issue shouldn't be cast in racial terms. Representative Dottie Horton, Republican Houghton, called the language offensive and demanded it be stripped from the bill. "I've never seen a more racist document than the one you've brought," said Horton, who is white. If you're offended by the words, just look at me and Royce Duplessis and think how offended we are by the actions," James replied, referencing Representative Royce Duplessis, a Democrat from New Orleans who is also black. In the end, white lawmakers stripped out the language that references Floyd and the killings of black men by white police officers. James said he was fine with the amendment if it meant the measure passed and the issue was studied, saying that it would honor Floyd more than his name being included in the resolution. The committee passed the resolution unanimously after taking out the language. The debate over a resolution that would merely allow a group to study the issue of policing foreshadows what is likely to be a hot debate over police reform in a legislature where the two parties are split heavily along racial lines. Democratic Governor John Bel Edwards, who helped pass a bipartisan criminal justice reform bill in his first term, is also closely aligned with the Louisiana Sheriff's Association, which endorsed him in his bid for re-election last year. Floyd's death touched off a wave of protests across the country, including several in Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and Lafayette. According to a database on police shootings created by the Washington Post, which won the paper a Pulitzer Prize in 2017, police kill black Americans at more than twice the rate of white Americans. Unarmed black men are about 4 times more likely to be killed by police than unarmed white men, according to the database. The study group if the measure passes, would bring together lawmakers, the Urban League of Louisiana, NAACP, American Civil Liberties Union, Southern Poverty Law Center, Power Coalition for Equity and Justice, Voice of the Experienced, and 3 representatives from law enforcement to study policing. This is a watershed moment in the country, Duplessis said. To ignore the issue of race, I think we all would do ourselves a disservice. The officer who knelt on Floyd's neck, as well as the 3 officers who stood by and watched, have drawn widespread condemnation across the political spectrum. Edwards called their actions egregious. Law enforcement leaders have also condemned their actions. Protests across the nation have renewed debate over reforms to police departments, including calls for defunding or dismantling police agencies as part of an overhaul that would reimagine how law enforcement should work. That debate has reached the Louisiana legislature, where several lawmakers have started floating measures that would overhaul police practices. The current session, which ends June 30th, is a special session where only bills relating to 41 specific topics can be introduced. That list, crafted by our Republican legislative leaders in late May, includes the state budget, taxes, and other issues, including fantasy sports. Representative Edmund Jordan, Democrat Baton Rouge, said he's working with Speaker Clay Schexnayder on whether his measure, a bill that takes aim at qualified immunity for police officers, is allowed to be taken up in the special session. Qualified immunity protects police from liability in civil suits for their actions, and reform advocates have tried to change the doctrine. The legislature is expected to return to Baton Rouge in October for a special session about state finances, and some Democrats have expressed hope police reform can be taken up in that session. Edwards said Wednesday he would be open to including that in the call in conjunction with legislative leaders, if the legislation is ready. If not, the next time such police reform measures could be considered is the regular session that starts in 2021. If you're seeing this across the country, in states led by Republicans, led by Democrats, all talking about police reform measures, Edwards said, we'll see where we are and discuss that with leadership, but it's certainly something I could see happening. The American Civil Liberties Union of Louisiana said Wednesday it would enlist law schools and law firms to unleash a wave of lawsuits to challenge racially discriminatory policing. This effort aims to bring 1,000 cases challenging racially motivated stops and seizures and other laws. In the Louisiana Senate on Wednesday, a committee took up a measure by Senator Cleo Fields, Democrat Baton Rouge, that is similar to James's resolution. The proposal would create the Police Training, Screening, and De-escalation Task Force, with members from law enforcement, the legislature, NAACP, Urban League, and others. It included similar language about Floyd and disparities in police killings as James's bill. It passed through the committee without objection. Our next story, setting the stage. Hyman Center fees to be waived for dance reviews, arts money untouched, by Claire Taylor, staff writer. Instead of using money in a cultural arts tax fund to help local dance studios hold reviews at the Hyman Center, Lafayette Parish Mayor President Josh Guillory said he'll waive some of the extra costs they'll face after he announced most of the theater's staff would be laid off. Guillory made the announcement last week when he called into a conservative radio show on KPEL. Guillory has discontinued news conferences that began in March as coronavirus updates. Guillory announced May 22nd that 101 full-time and part-time employees at the Hyman Center, Lafayette Science Museum, Acadiana Nature Station, and 3 senior centers would be laid off to cut costs because of a drop in sales tax receipts when businesses were ordered closed by the governor to slow the spread of coronavirus. The move put in jeopardy 21 events scheduled at the center, including local dance reviews. Asked for an update Tuesday, Guillory's chief communication officer, Jamie Angel, said he had no new information to provide. Melody Zay, owner of De La Rue Dance Center in Lafayette, said Tuesday she received a blanket email from the Hyman Center director about the fee waiver, but has yet to receive a contract outlining her final costs. "We're getting to resolution," she said, "just very slowly." Arts advocates suggested using $500,000 or more in a cultural arts fund generated by a .25 mil property tax rededicated by voters in November 2017 to be used to grow the parish arts and cultural economy. It's commonly called the CREATE Culture, Recreation, Entertainments, Arts, Tourism tax. And Guillory wants voters to rededicate it to road and fire protection in unincorporated parts of the parish, whose residents rejected a tax on themselves for fire protection. At a June 2nd combined meeting of the city and parish councils, Councilwoman Nanette Cook asked Guillory to reconsider using the CREATE money to keep Hyman Center employees for services such as stage piping and curtains and allow the dance reviews to take place. Cook said Tuesday that Guillory does not want to use CREATE money but agreed to waive some fees to the dance studios. On KPEL radio show, Guillory said using CREATE money was a good idea, but it might take council action such as an ordinance. "We don't have time to play bureaucratic games," he said. Instead, Guillory said Lafayette Consolidated Government will waive up to $5,000 in fees per studio and waive the $24,000 rental cost for extra performance days needed to comply with safe distancing guidelines for the audience inside the theater. Our next story, Opelousas officer faced force accusations from pastor in 2010 by Katie Gagliano, staff writer. A veteran Opelousas Police Department officer accused of battering a black man at a hospital in October has a pending lawsuit accusing him of excessive force against a local pastor in 2010. Sergeant Tyron Andropont, 49, was booked on 5 counts of malfeasance in office on accusations he committed simple battery on Jonah Coleman Jr., an 18-year-old who was undergoing treatment at Opelousas General Hospital's South Campus related to a non-criminal matter in October. Coleman's attorney, Dallas-based Darrell K. Washington, said Andropont responded to the scene after hospital staff called police, though Washington maintained his client was not rowdy or a threat to hospital staff. Andropont totally overreacted and struck his client while he was restrained in his hospital room, including at one point choking him, Washington said. The bill of information filed by the St. Landry Parish District Attorney's Office against Andropont said he used force or violence against Coleman without the victim's consent and without justification, striking Coleman in the face and head area, neck and throat area, right leg, and right arm. Andropont would face a maximum sentence of 25 years in prison if convicted on all counts, and if all terms were served consecutively. He would have his post-certification revoked according to state law. Andropont has been on paid administrative leave since November while state police investigated the incident. On Tuesday, the Opelousas Police Department launched an internal affairs investigation into the accusations. Chief Martin McClendon said, This isn't the first time Andropont has been accused of using excessive or unnecessary force against a person during a police encounter. In October 2011, Opelousas Minister Elton Sam Jr. filed a lawsuit against Andropont that then Chief Perry Gallo, Opelousas, the Opelousas Police Department, and ABC Insurance Company, which provided the city's liability coverage for damages stemming from an arrest by Andropont. Sam said on October 14, 2010, he went to the Goodwill on Cresswell Lane in Opelousas to deliver extra goods donated to his family following a house fire that destroyed his home and left Sam, his wife, and 3 children with few surviving possessions. While there, Sam opted to delay the donation until his family had time to look through the items, the lawsuit said. While driving home, Sam was stopped by Andropont, who accused the minister of stealing from Goodwill after he said he saw Sam remove several bags from the charity store's donation bin. Sam claimed he explained his situation to Andropont along with other officers present, who attempted to intervene and inform Andropont of the possible credibility of Sam's story, the lawsuit said. Sam's family loss was known to the officers, and they were familiar with his ministry work in the community, court documents said. When Sam attempted to call the Opelousas police chief on his cell phone, Andrepont suddenly and without warning attacked Sam. Andrepont is accused of slamming Sam's head against the hood of his police unit and handcuffing him, kicking him in the shin, placing Sam in a chokehold while he was handcuffed, and throwing him into the door of his patrol car, in addition to other violent acts. The lawsuit said another officer on scene protested Andrepont's actions. Sam maintains that Andrepont lacks sufficient training to exercise restraint despite the lack of provocation, thereby violating petitioner's civil rights, the lawsuit said. The plaintiff and his attorney said the lawsuit that surveillance footage from Goodwill supported his claims that he did not steal from the store. Representatives for the city and Andrepont denied the allegations in a court filing and claimed both that Sam didn't have sufficient grounds to sue and that Andrepont was covered by a qualified immunity, which shields government employees like police officers from individual liability for reasonable discretionary actions taken during the course of their duty. The latest case filing in the St. Landry Parish Clerk of Court's records was dated March 2018. The lawsuit has not been dismissed or resolved, according to court records. And our next story of the morning, judge holds legal center director in contempt. Defense for suspect in Cox killing in disarray, by Ben Myers, a staff writer with The Advocate. Take a little sip of coffee while you reflect and think about maybe subscribing to The Advocate. That's good coffee. A Lafayette Parish judge on Wednesday ordered the state's primary indigent capital defense organization to continue working with a lawyer whom it recently fired. The judge also held the Louisiana Capital Assistance Center's executive director, Richard Bork, in contempt of court because Bork halted work on the case of Ian Howard, who is accused of killing a Lafayette police officer and shooting 3 other people in October 2017. Bork, who argued that his actions followed the advice of legal ethics experts, received a suspended 30-day jail sentence and 2 years of probation, along with a $300 fine. The hearing Wednesday continued a bizarre turn in Howard's defense, which the state's public defender board assigned to the Capital Assistance Center soon after the shootings. But the organization, for reasons not made public, fired the lead lawyer on Howard's case, Stephen Singer, on May 14th. The organization subsequently declared in multiple filings that it will never again work with Singer on the Howard case or any others. The second defense lawyer on the Howard case, Elliot Brown, testified Wednesday that working with Singer presented an ethical conflict that would impair Howard's representation. In a legal filing, the Capital Assistance Center said Singer had taken antagonistic actions toward Brown, the organization, and its staff. In a filing, the organization claimed that Singer had stated that he intends to sue over his firing and that he verbally threatened to come after all of you with everything I've got. Brown characterized the conflict as personal and did not elaborate. My relationship has deteriorated to the point that I can no longer provide effective representation, Brown said. Whatever the source of the fallout, the enmity between Singer and his former employer was readily apparent. At one point, Singer lost his cool while questioning Bork as a sworn witness, prompting Edwards to tell Singer to calm down. Singer said the center's staff had refused to take his calls on the Howard case. Bork said staff felt Singer was harassing them. But Edwards concluded after a 6-hour hearing, including 2 hours in closed court, where more details of the conflict may have been divulged, that nothing prevents Brown and Singer from continuing to work on the Howard case together, with Singer privately retained as lead counsel. The judge also ordered the Capital Assistance Center to continue providing additional staff support. The order seemed to nullify the organization's refusal to work with Singer in any capacity. What happens next is unclear, although Brown joined Singer in a deliberation room to confer with Howard after the hearing. 4 days after his firing, Singer forwarded to Bork a retainer agreement that Howard signed, keeping Singer in place. Singer also demanded that no one affiliated with the Capital Assistance Center communicate with Howard about Singer's permission. Bork hired two of the state's leading legal ethicists, Leslie Schiff and Stephen Scheckman, who advised that the retainer amounted to a discharge of the Capital Assistance Center's services. Bork then asked Edwards to determine who would represent Howard by way of an emergency motion that Edwards repeatedly disparaged on Wednesday. The motion contained no evidence that Howard had, in fact, discharged the Capital Assistance Center, the judge said, and it also admitted to a potentially contemptuous act, stopping work on the case with a major motions hearing coming up and a trial scheduled for November. Bork maintained that the retainer, along with Singer's directives, effectively removed the organization from the case and prevented further work on it apart from transferring files. At the same time, Bork said he did not require staff to communicate with Singer about the Howard case because some staff members expressed concerns about the way Singer was approaching them. Singer said he was only notified the files were ready on June 6th, nearly 3 weeks after he delivered the retainer, and that the organization's staff had not been cooperative. He also said the retainer seeks a cooperative agreement that allows Howard's legal team to remain intact, no matter Singer's employment status. He wants them all to remain, and he wants me to remain. He wants us all to work together, Singer said. Edwards read aloud an email in which he warned Bork that a contempt charge was possible. Bork said he forwarded that email to the legal ethicist who advised Bork that the judge would not resort to a contempt charge once the retainer agreement was disclosed. Acting on their advice, Bork filed the emergency motion with the retainer placed in the evidence. I followed what I understood the rules of ethical conduct required me to do, Bork said. But Edwards was put off that Bork did not call him to discuss the matter, no matter the advice he had received. Edwards said Bork obviously didn't care about keeping the case, which is going on 3 years old, moving toward trial, noting that nearly a month had passed with no work by the defense. That certainly sounds like contempt, complete disregard for the interest of the court, Edwards said. Our next story, COVID-19 coronavirus, the latest. Louisiana leaders, alarmingly few people wearing masks, by Sam Carlin, staff writer. State officials on Wednesday warned that disturbingly few Louisiana residents are wearing masks and that more need to pick up calls from contact tracers as the state sees what Governor John Bel Edwards described as concerning trends in 3 regions. Dr. Alex Bio, Assistant Secretary for the state's Office of Public Health, said, "Health leaders across the state have taken note of how many people in their communities are wearing masks, which the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recommends as a way to prevent people from spreading the highly contagious coronavirus to others. What we hear over and over again is really inconsistent mask wearing, if not worse," Belio said. Edwards, in his stay-at-home order that ended in May, and in phased reopening that has taken place since, has not mandated people wear masks unless they are an employee who interacts with the public. Instead, officials have strongly urged members of the public to wear masks. Belio said in New Orleans, where he lives, it appeared more people are wearing masks than in other parts of the state. The state has also spent millions of dollars on the cornerstone of its reopening plan, contact tracing, a practice in which workers call people who have been infected, track down their close contacts, and advise them to self-isolate. But officials on Wednesday also acknowledged that effort is hitting speed bumps. The state, through contact workers, has been able to reach less than half of the infected people it has reached out to, and slightly more than half of the contacts identified. And the state is unable to reach out to a significant chunk of people, sometimes because of a lack of contact information. It will not be effective if we can't reach people on the telephone, Belio said. Edwards has loosened restrictions put in place in March to stem the rise of coronavirus. On May 15, the governor allowed restaurants to dine in and allowed barbershops and salons and other businesses to open, all at 25% capacity. On Friday, Phase 2 of the reopening began, allowing bars to reopen at 25% capacity and letting businesses that were operating at 25% to boost that to 50%. Even as restrictions are being loosened, Edwards warned that the virus still poses the same risk, especially to the most vulnerable. Officials said 3 regions, the greater Monroe, Alexandria, and Lake Charles areas, have experienced concerning numbers of cases and hospitalizations. Edwards has said repeatedly that even though cases may be rising, it's important to look at how many come from congregate settings like nursing homes and prisons. The state has so far not provided the breakdown each day, but Bilio said Wednesday that the 418 cases reported, 11% came from congregate settings. Our next story, coming up in just a moment. I'll remind you that this is a production of AOC Community Media in partnership with The Advocate. We do this every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Read the news. Available on our YouTube, available on AOC 1 and 2, and available on Cypress Street Radio, aocinc.org/CS radio, or just search for Cypress Street Radio or AOC Community Media. You'll find it. Take a sip of coffee, and then we'll be on to the next story. All right, Evangeline Downs. Oh, my story skipped again. Pardon me. Get there. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in this morning. We're just scrolling back down to the news story about Evangeline Downs, which should be the next story in my list. Here we come to it. Evangeline Downs announces layoffs. Racetrack's parent company eliminating hundreds of jobs across Louisiana, by Adam Daigle, Acadiana business editor for The Advocate. The Evangeline Downs Racetrack and Casino in Opelousas will lay off 246 employees at the first of next month as a result of losses from the COVID-19 shutdown. Officials with the casino's parent company, Las Vegas-based Boyd Gaming, notified the Louisiana Workforce Commission of the layoffs, which will also include job reductions at its 4 other properties in Louisiana that faced mandatory closure. The layoffs will take effect between July 1st and July 14th and impact 25 to 60% of the casino's workforce. The company will also lay off 414 workers at Sam's Town Hotel and Casino in Shreveport, 340 at Treasure Chest Casino in Kenner, 354 at the Delta Downs Racetrack and Casino in Benton, and 170 at the Amelia Bell Casino in Amelia, according to its worker adjustment and retraining notification letter filed Friday. The Opelousas Casino, one of the top employers in the parish, had employed between 400 and 450 prior to the shutdown, said Bill Rodier, the St. Landry Parish Economic Development Office. Like many businesses across the country and in our industry, Boyd Gaming has been significantly affected by COVID-19 and the mandatory closures of all our properties since mid-March, wrote Chris Smith, Vice President of Corporate Human Resources with Boyd Gaming. In a May 22nd letter, the pandemic's effect on our business remain unpredictable. Boyd Gaming has issued 20 layoff notification letters in 6 states, according to a Casino.org report, with permanent cuts and extended furloughs affecting more than 10,300 workers. The layoffs also include workers at Boyd's Uniform Laundry Service and corporate headquarters. The layoffs in Opelousas cover a variety of positions, with the most coming in security cocktail service bar and custodian. The company has other employees on furlough, Smith wrote, and could keep them on furlough longer than the 6 months since it began. The layoffs come just as horse racing season kicks off Friday at the track, although no fans will be allowed to view the racing live or stand anywhere near the track. The shutdown at the casino will be felt throughout St. Landry Parish, as every governing body and some organizations receive funding from the casino's operations, Rodier said. It is unfortunate that they are limiting staff, said Raquel Manuel, President and CEO of the St. Landry Chamber of Commerce. We understand that Boyd Gaming has different locations, and those locations have been shut down for months. It's limited in that way how they can recover from this. Hopefully they can take this time to look at their assets and look at how they can build back up their staff and employ more St. Landry residents so we can all continue to move forward as a parish. The news reinforces the Chamber's recent efforts at diversifying its economy and not relying so much on a handful of major employers, Manuel noted. While employers like the casino and the Walmart distribution center in Opelousas are major employers, layoffs at either of those could significantly affect the local workforce. St. Landry Parish had an unemployment rate of 13.2 in April, with over 3,800 people listed as unemployed, data shows. Of course, we've been helping large businesses and corporations during this pandemic, but we're focused on the smaller businesses, she said. How are we going to help our parish to not be as dependent on one corporation but have success throughout the parish? Let's build a higher level of employment throughout the parish. All right, and let's go ahead and we will check out our Today in History. Come back to page 16 in just a moment. But we're at the midway point, and that is our main entertainment feature that we have here this morning, because I don't know how to find the horoscope like Bruce does, but that's okay. All right, so Today in History, published by the Associated Press and run in the Advocate. Today is Thursday, June 11th, and the 163rd day of 2020. There are 203 days left in the year. Today's highlight in history: on June 11th, 1776, the Continental Congress formed a committee to draft a Declaration of Independence calling for freedom from Britain. On this date in 1770, Captain James Cook, commander of the British ship Endeavour, discovered the Great Barrier Reef off Australia by running into it. In 1936, Kansas Governor Alfred "Alf" Landon was nominated for president at the Republican National Convention in Cleveland. In 1947, the government announced the end of sugar rationing for households and institutional users, e.g. restaurants and hotels, as of midnight. In 1955, in motor racing's worst disaster, more than 80 people were killed during the 24 hours of Le Mans, France, when two of the cars collided and crashed into spectators. In 1962, 3 prisoners at Alcatraz in San Francisco Bay staged an escape, leaving the island on a makeshift raft. They were never found or heard from again. In 1985, Karen Ann Quinlan, the comatose patient whose case prompted a historic right-to-die court decision, died in Morris Plains, New Jersey at age 31. In 1993, the U.S. Supreme Court unanimously ruled that people who commit hate crimes motivated by bigotry may be sentenced to extra punishment. The court also ruled religious groups had a constitutional right to sacrifice animals in worship services. In 2001, Timothy McVeigh, 33, was executed by injection at the federal prison in Terre Haute, Indiana, for the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing that killed 168 people. In 2007, Senator Larry Craig, Republican Idaho, was arrested at Minneapolis St. Paul International Airport in a restroom sex sting. Craig, who denied soliciting an undercover police officer, later pleaded guilty to disorderly conduct and paid a fine. In 2009, with swine flu reported in more than 70 nations, the World Health Organization declared the first global flu pandemic in 41 years. 10 years ago, 20 campers in a southwestern Arkansas gorge died in a pre-dawn flash flood of the Little Missouri River. 5 years ago, General Martin Dempsey, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said the U.S. military's reach could extend even further into Iraq if the anti-Islamic State campaign were to gain momentum, and held out the possibility of a greater role for U.S. troops on the ground. 1 year ago today, a House committee hearing comedian Jon Stewart scolded Congress for failing to ensure that victims' compensation fund set up after the 9/11 attacks never runs out of money. a measure ensuring that the fund would remain permanent won final approval the following month and was signed into law by President Donald Trump. Today in birthdays, let's see if we can do this whole list. Former U.S. Representative Charles B. Rangel, New York, is 90. Comedian Johnny Brown is 83. International Motorsports Hall of Famer Jackie Stewart is 81. Singer Joey D is 80. Actor Roscoe Orman is 76. Actress Adrienne Barbeau is 75. Rock musician Frank Beard of ZZ Top is 71. Animal rights activist, it's funny that the ZZ Top guy's name is Frank Beard, I forgot that. Animal rights activist Ingrid Newkirk is 71. Singer Graham Russell of Air Supply is 70. Rock singer Donnie Van Zant is 68. Actor Peter Bergman is 67. Pro football Hall of Famer Joe Montana is 64. Actor Hugh Laurie of House fame for a lot of us, big House fan, and of course a bit of Fry and Laurie, is 61 today. TV personality Mehmet Oz, Dr. Oz MD, is 60. Singer Gioa Bruno of Expose is 57. Rock musician Dan Lavery of Tonic is 54. Country singer-songwriter Bruce Robinson is 54. Actress Claire Carey is 53. Actor Peter Dinklage is 51, Game of Thrones. And country musician Smilin' J. McDowell is 51. A thought for today is forgetfulness is a form of freedom. Khalil Gibran, American poet and artist. Okay, well, let's roll back up to our news. We'll just get right back into the news stories for the morning so we can try and get them all in before our cutoff time. All right, appeals court confirms Pope's conviction by Claire Taylor, staff writer for The Advocate. The state Third Circuit Court of Appeals has rejected an appeal by suspended Lafayette City Marshal Brian Pope of 3 October 2018 felony convictions against him. The appeals court also upheld a decision by 15th Judicial District Judge David Smith to dismiss a perjury conviction against Pope, Lafayette attorney Gary McGoffin said Wednesday. McGoffin was involved in a lawsuit against Pope on behalf of the independent newspaper after Pope refused to hand over public records as required by law. A jury found Pope guilty in October 2018 on 4 felony counts stemming in part from a videotape deposition in which McGoffin grilled Pope. 3 of the convictions were for malfeasance involving use of public funds to pay attorneys for personal and prohibited reasons, and 1 for perjury during the deposition. Pope was immediately suspended without pay from the marshal's office upon conviction. Smith, in June 2019, dismissed the perjury conviction but let stand the 3 malfeasance convictions. He sentenced Pope to a year in the Lafayette Parish Jail for each of the 3 counts, suspending all but 1 year. He also sentenced Pope to 240 hours of community service and ordered him to pay $11,700 in restitution. Pope appealed the 3 malfeasance convictions, which the appeal court upheld, McGoffin said. The district attorney's office appealed Smith's dismissal of the perjury conviction and lost. The appeal was scheduled to be heard on March 24th, but was delayed because of closures ordered to slow the spread of coronavirus. Pope has said for more than a year that he plans to run for city marshal again. He's allowed to do so as long as he has an appeal pending. He and his attorneys earlier indicated they would appeal all the way to the state Supreme Court. That's his last card, McGoffin said, because after that he's going to jail. Pope still faces 19 felony charges of malfeasance in office. 17 of them are for accepting about $85,000 in fines and court fees in 2018 to supplement his salary, despite a Louisiana Attorney General's office opinion advising the money should be deposited into the city marshal office's account. 2 others are related to reimbursement in 2018 for travel on official business, which he deposited in his personal account instead of in the city marshal's office account. All right. right, and the crime blotter from the Advocate staff reports: a man killed in fire at Youngsville business. A 61-year-old man died after his Youngsville business caught fire on Wednesday. Daryl Francis was killed after fire broke out in a warehouse behind Cabinets Plus LLC in the 200 block of Brahman Drive. Firefighters were dispatched to the scene at 9:58 a.m., and when crews arrived, the building was fully engulfed, said Youngsville Fire Chief Blair Rivette. Francis owned what appeared to be a painting business or workshop in the warehouse, he said. An employee said he tried to enter the building to save Francis but was unable to reach him. There was only one entrance door at the front of the warehouse, and Francis's body was found near the back of the building, Rivette said. Another employee and firefighter responding to the scene suffered minor injuries and were treated at the scene, the chief said. Firefighters from Youngsville, Broussard, and Milton fire departments responded to the blaze and worked for 28 minutes before bringing flames under control. Investigators with the Lafayette Fire Department and the Louisiana State Fire Marshal's Office determined the fire was accidental, but said the exact cause is still being assessed, Rivette said. A pedestrian was killed waiting to cross the Evangeline Thruway. A woman was struck and killed Wednesday while waiting to cross Northwest Evangeline Thruway. A woman was struck and killed Wednesday while, a woman who has not been identified, pending family notification, was standing in the median waiting to cross at Northwest Evangeline Thruway and Chalmette Road. A vehicle ran off the road and struck the woman, Lafayette Police spokesman Sergeant Wayne Griffin said in a statement. The woman was pronounced dead at the scene, and the vehicle's driver was taken to a hospital for treatment. The crash happened at about 1 p.m., Griffin said. A man sentenced for child pornography charge. A 24-year-old Lafayette man was sentenced to over 6 years in federal prison for downloading child pornography involving children as young as 3. Jared Tyler Olivier, 24, was sentenced by U.S. District Judge Michael Juneau to 80 months, or just over 6 years, 6.5 years, in federal prison, followed by 10 years of supervised release after pleading guilty to one count of transportation of child pornography in January. A statement from David C. Joseph, U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Louisiana. Olivier will be required to register as a sex offender once released. Olivier admitted to using a Tumblr account to view images and videos of child pornography and to storing 39 videos of boys and men engaging in sexual acts on a Dropbox account. Some of the children were as young as 3, Joseph's statement said. Olivier admitted to transporting the images from a computer to the online document storage system in January and February 2018. Olivier was one of 7 Acadiana residents arrested in April 2019 as part of a child pornography sweep by the Louisiana Bureau of Investigations, a division of the State Attorney General's Office. The agency's Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force led the sweep with assistance from other law enforcement agencies. The group was alerted to Olivier's online activity by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, Joseph's statement said. Teen arrested in shooting in Abbeville. A 15-year-old boy was arrested Tuesday in a non-fatal shooting in Abbeville. The shooting happened Sunday. One man suffered injuries that were not life-threatening and was taken to a hospital for treatment. Abbeville police spokesman Lieutenant Jonathan Touche said in a statement. The 15-year-old was arrested Tuesday on account of attempted second-degree murder and was transported to Juvenile Detention Center, the statement said. Additional arrests are possible. The Abbeville Police Department said no other information is being released about the shooting or the arrest, citing an ongoing investigation. All right, let me just take another little sip of coffee here. We're getting up to the 9:45 hour, so we'll be wrapping up our news here shortly. Thanks again for tuning in to Local News Live here on AOC Community Media. Our next story, Group Urges Support for Black-Owned Eateries by Megan Wyatt, staff writer. The two biggest news stories of 2020 will collide in a meaningful way Thursday, as the Great American Takeout encourages people to order food from Black-owned restaurants. The Great American Takeout has regularly pushed people to support restaurants during the coronavirus pandemic through ordering takeout on specific days With the protest against police brutality and for racial justice following the death of George Floyd, the Great American Takeout is encouraging people to support black-owned restaurants on Thursday. The Great American Takeout team stands in solidarity with the black community and is committed to supporting and celebrating black-owned businesses, organizers announced this week. So on Thursday, June 11, we're asking everyone in America to order takeout or delivery meal from a black-owned restaurant. Organizers are encouraging participants to post photos of their meals on social media with the hashtag #TheGreatAmericanTakeout to showcase the effort. Black-owned restaurants nationally are getting more attention now as part of efforts to marshal community support amid the protest against police brutality and racism. A few lists of black-owned restaurants in the Acadiana area have popped up on social media and websites over the last 2 weeks. There's also a website and smartphone app called Shop Blacklisted that 8 black women in Acadiana started in 2015 to support black-owned businesses in the area. Supporting black businesses really helps with strengthening the local economy because the money stays in the community and creates local jobs, said Kamina King, one of the founders of Shop Blacklisted. It also fights systematic racism by closing the income gap. Jobs are created from the increase in sales, and that strengthens the local economy. Shop Blacklisted focuses on the Acadiana region because that's where King and her partners are located, but they hope to one day expand the website and app to include businesses across the state. King, a lawyer by day, is hoping the momentum seen since the May 25th death of Floyd at the hands of Minneapolis police will continue in a positive way for black business owners after the protests have died down and the coronavirus is no longer top of mind. We took the initiative to create the listing back in 2015, King said. We believe it's important to support these businesses every day, not just at a time of pandemic or protest. We hope to encourage consumers to continue the support as opposed to it being a trend that dies down after a few weeks. Here are several black-owned restaurants in the Acadiana area to check out. In Abbeville, you have Soulful Eats at 1815 Charity Street. Their number is 337-422-5060 for more information. ZZ's Kitchen, 2820 Veterans Memorial Drive, 337-385-1965 for more information. In Brobridge, you have The Big Chill, 1288 Reese Street, 337-680-0796 for more information. Glenda's Creole Kitchen, 3232 Main Highway, number 31, 337-332-0294. In Broussard, you're going to find Norbert Restaurant, 521 Avenue C, 337-837-6704. Tim's Kitchen is at 1000 Albertson Parkway in Broussard, 337-330-2151. In Carencro, you've got Flavored Snow, 103 East St. Peter Street, 337-453-0711. Uncle Luck's Express Cafe, 930 Veterans Drive, 337-520-2451. Veronica's Cafe at 302 Hector Conley Road in Carencro, 337-565-2301. Church Point, you have Scotty Bean's Theater Cafe, 119 North Main Street, 337-692-2159. In Lafayette, you've got Black Cafe at 518 South Pierce Street, Suite 100, 337-889-3862. The Brown Skillet Lafayette at 1011 East University Avenue, 337-484-1498. And Cafe Coachella at 2700 Moss Street. You can find out more at 337-345-8079. You have Canderella's 200 Madison Street at 337-237-2337. Creole Lunch House at 713 12th Street, 337-232-9929 in Lafayette. D-Jerk Stop, 537 Jefferson Street, 337-412-8304. Jerk Express at 1000 West Simcoe Street, 337-484-3300. 3387. D Jerk Shop, I should mention, is in, the Beer Garden. It's the restaurant that's in the Beer Garden if you're looking for it. Kitchen on Clinton, 405 East University Avenue, 337-706-5094. Laura's 2, 1904 West University Avenue, 337-593-8006. Lumberjack's Soul Food, 4016 Moss Street, 337-534-0545. Munchie's Lunchbox Express, 1801 North Antoine Street, 337-316-3900. Noah's Cafe, 2310 Ambassador Caffrey Parkway, 337-406-2440. Oh Baked It at 419 West Willow Street, 337-793-2439. Smokin' Joe's Barbecue, 600 East Collie Saloon Road, 337-237-8575, New Iberia. Anointed Soul Food, 1501 Iberia Street, 337-380-0619. Brenda's Dine-In and Takeout, 411 West Pershing Street, 337-367-0868. Moore's 2 Cafe, 502 South Hopkins Street, 337-241-3208 in New Iberia. Ref's Cafe and Catering, 904 Field Street, 337-256-5360. Snowball Express, 7904 Laurelville Road, 337-944-6011. Opelousas, we've got Arpeggio's Lounge, 204 North Main Street, 337-407-5188. Pearl's Country Kitchen, 8247 Louisiana 182, 337-594-8889 is the phone number. In Scott, Louisiana, you've got Super Taters, 5545 Cameron Street in Scott, 337-889-5993. St. Martinville, you've got Clambo's, 111 North Main Street, 337-394-3949. Joe's, 830 South Main Street, 337-342-2477. Mother's Cafe, 222 East Bridge Street, 337-342-2633. Saints at 716 South Main Street, 337-394-5158. And then last but not least, Seafood Express in St. Martinville at 1843 North Main Street, 337-342-2167. And we are getting very close to the end of the news. I see I'm coming up on our lone probably sports story, so I'll just thank everybody for listening to Local News Live. If you do like the news as a public service, it'd be really cool if you could go over to our Facebook and give us a like on any posts about our newsread, or come like this video on YouTube, where it will stay up until they make us take it down. So thanks again for listening, and let's have our lone sports story in the last 3 minutes of the news. UL coaches, players engage racial injustice talks. Napier says conversations have been important by Kevin Foote, staff writer. Ragin' Cajuns football coach Billy Napier addressed several areas pertaining to his football team's return to campus Tuesday for voluntary workouts after a 3-month separation caused by the coronavirus shutdown. First, Napier confirmed none of his players tested positive for COVID-19 over the first 2 days. Second, he confirmed the additions of graduate transfer Indiana kicker Nate Snyder, Arizona State graduate transfer offensive lineman Zach Robertson, and former Oklahoma triple jumper turned wide receiver Golden Eek to UL's roster. But a large portion of Napier's teleconference with media Wednesday revolved around his program's reaction to the aftermath of George Floyd's death throughout the country. Structurally, the program's plan begins with the team being divided into smaller groups over the next 4 weeks. That helps for social distance purposes, but they also hope it will make group discussions about racial inequality and injustice more productive. It even extends to on-campus housing. So we put those guys together to just limit, if we were to have a positive test, the contact tracing that goes with that, he said. But as of the second week of June, the most productive result of those groups have been the discussions on the issues of police brutality and racism in America. From Napier's perspective, the conversations have been extremely beneficial. I don't think we've ever been more together or more united than we are at this point, Napier said. The dialogue has ranged from understanding to empathy. Those conversations continue daily, Napier said. We started with our leadership group, and then specifically once the players were back, had an opportunity to speak to each run and lift group independently. It's just an impressive group of guys. That's what I would say about our football team. We've worked really hard on what these guys are as people for the last 2 years, and I think that's what's been impressive to me, to see these guys during this time really step up to the plate. Naturally, not all of these conversations were pleasant. It's not all positive relative to what's going on, Napier said. You do have players who have had difficult situations themselves or maybe within their family, and they're hurting. They're scared at times. I think they're angry. There's some frustration there. It is disturbing that these events continue to happen. I know that they don't reflect all of our law enforcement. We certainly very appreciative of all the people that serve our country in those capacities. Napier said he expects change to come from this current racial equality movement. I think more than ever people are listening, he said. I think the leadership we have at all levels of government, I think you're going to see good things come from this. That's what I think our team would like to see, and that's what I think we're going to work hard to do. I think this is an opportunity to get better. It's going to provoke change. It's going to cause people to take a good look in the mirror. It's going to cause us to maybe evaluate some of our processes that are in place. It gives a lot of us that have no clue what it feels like. We've never experienced that. Moving forward, Napier warns it can't end anytime soon. And that is our news for this morning. We again thank you. We will have been off on TV, but if you happen to be listening on our YouTube channel or watching the replay or the recorded video on demand on our YouTube channel, we thank you. If you're listening on Cypress Street, which should still be airing, we thank you for that. And again, go over to aocinc.org, look around, at the very least click on our Facebook or Instagram or Twitter pages and give us a like. Go to our YouTube, subscribe to our channel where you'll get notifications about this newsfeed if you turn notifications on. I'm Matt Roberts, and you're listening to a production of AOC Community Media, local news live in partnership with The Advocate. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great